Thank you for joining us. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Our coverage tonight begins with court matters, where a federal high court sitting in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, has rejected the request by the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, to halt trial in the hearing of the 80.2 billion naira fraud charges brought against him. Bello asked the court to stay execution in his trial before Justice Emeka Nwite on the grounds that there is an appeal filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, before the Court of Appeal against the contempt application filed by the defendant against the EFCC chairman, Ola Olukayode. Justice Nwite, in his ruling on Friday, however, rejected the application made by Bello through his lawyer, Abdulwahab Mohammed. He held that Bello was trying to make rubbish out of a criminal case while choosing to stay in his house and not respect the court. Staying with court matters, the Federal Capital Territory High Court, I beg your pardon, sitting in Abuja on Thursday barred the immediate past Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, his daughter Fatima, and son-in-law, Jalal Hama, from traveling outside the country. Justice Sylvanus Orji ruled that they must not leave the country pending the conclusion of their 2.7 billion naira fraud trial. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on Thursday on 6 counts charge bordering on 2.7 billion naira fraud. They were arraigned alongside Al Burak Investment Limited. The anti-graft agency alleged that Sirika abused this office by awarding a consultancy of 1.3 billion naira contract for the Nigerian air startup to Tiernero Nigeria Limited. The commission said in doing that, the ex-minister acted contrary to Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offence Act 2000. Let's go to Edo State. Still staying with court matters, the state governor, Godwin Obaseki, has refuted rumors of a court case against the Oba of Benin. He called the rumors fake news spread by enemies of the state. Obaseki clarified that the state government is actually a defendant in the ongoing case, not a plaintiff. This means the government is being sued, not the other way around. He emphasized the state maintains a good relationship with the royal palace. The suit stems from the suspension of 2 dukes by the Oba. They argue that the governor, not the Oba, has the authority to remove them from office. Nigeria's chance to host the next Invictus game received a major boost on Friday following the visit of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan, who were received at the nation's defense headquarters in Abuja. The Duke of Sussex founded the Invictus game in 2014 as an international multi-sport event for wounded, injured, and sick servicemen and women, including military veterans.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrives Nigeria's defense headquarters, and as tradition demands, the prince is to inspect the quarter guard before starting the business of the day. This was followed by a mild reception where Harry and Meghan met senior officers and their wives, after which they went into a closed-door meeting with the Chief of Defense Staff. The visit primarily is to promote the Invictus Games after Harry met the Nigerian team and the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, at the last year's competition in Germany. The couple is visiting the world's most populous black nation for the first time on the invitation of its military. Activities of day one of the 4 days visit of Prince Harry and his wife Meghan just ended here at the defense headquarters here in Abuja. The prince is expected to be seen in other parts of Nigeria, like here in the FCT, at the Lighthouse Academy and NGO, where he'll be expected to promote the Invictus game. He'll later be seen in Kaduna, where he's going to meet the Governor Obasani and later meet the wounded soldiers who are receiving treatment at the Nigerian Army Reference Hospital in Kaduna. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
In the meantime, the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, has visited Governor Obasani of Kaduna State, as well as soldiers who were wounded in action as part of his activities while in Nigeria. The prince, who arrived at the Sir Kazim Ibrahim Government House in Kaduna on Friday afternoon, was accompanied by some aides and top Nigerian military officers. While welcoming the prince, Governor Sani commended him for identifying with the Nigerian armed forces and supporting soldiers who were wounded in action. The governor noted that such visits would go a long way in lifting the spirits of the brave and resilient officers and soldiers. According to him, Prince Harry's visit is evidence of his commitment to inspiring recovery and broadening respect for Nigerian soldiers. Let's take a quick dash back to the story from Edo State about the controversy around the suspension of some dukes by the Oba of Benin. To discuss and give us a little more perspective is a former Commissioner for Information in Edo State, Andrew Mwanta. Thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. And good evening to our viewers at home.
Tell us, as one who understands the culture of the people of Edo State, where does the powers of the Oba of Benin start and where does it end?
Yeah, thank you. As it is properly said, you have two kingdoms in the world. You have the United Kingdom and the Benin Kingdom. The Benin people, of whom I'm part of, regard our Oba as somebody who has a divine right, and I think it flows from the divine rights theory proposed by Henry VIII, the King of England. And as such, as Benin's, we owe the Oba our allegiance. His dukes are his subjects, and he has the power to appoint them. And I think the conundrum is that the Edo State government wants to engage the Oba, the palace of the Oba of Benin, as it relates to the suspension order the Oba placed on two of his dukes, who the Oba, in his wisdom, thought were challenging his authority, because some time ago, I think that was last year, the Edo State government came up with a policy to balkanize the kingdom by reducing the Oba's power as the chairman of the Benin Traditional Council, by allowing the dukes, who are his subjects, to now head their various domains under the various the local governments we have in Edo South. And of course, we know that that was a political move, being the fallout of the artifact issue, because the federal government said it is the Oba of Benin that has right over the custody of the artifacts. And of course, the Edo State governor did not find that palatable. And as a fallout, he needed to engage the palace by reducing the powers of the Oba of Benin. And he came up with a policy under the Edo State's, the defunct Edo State Traditional Rulers and Chiefs Law. So for us, we find that very distasteful that the Edo State government will sponsor, these same two dukes that were suspended by the Oba, through litigation in court. The Oba,
but the governor, except I misunderstood. I thought the governor has come up to say they're not having, that it is them that is suing, or is it could you explain how the government is in court and why the governor has to come out and make a clarification?
Nothing can be further from the truth. It's just like the proverbial saying of the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau. So essentially, the Edo State government is just trying to play, the Edo State government under Obaseki is trying to play a cat and mouse game. We know what is playing out. And that is why, if you notice yesterday in Benin City, the Benins came all out in support of their king. And I think the Edo State government should quickly do the needful. They should advise those Jews to withdraw that case against the Oba, because the Oba is our king and we regard it very well. And any attempt to disrespect our monarch will be resisted by the Benin people.
Let's see if we can trace anything back to history. Has such a scenario ever occurred in the Benin Kingdom where dukes, in this case, are taking the Oba to court? And what was the scenario and how was it resolved?
Yeah, it appears to be a novelty. It has never happened before. And what is not a novelty is the fact that in 2016, a whole lot of people, including the then Oba, they saw that this present governor would challenge the Oba's authority. I don't want to go back into history, what happened with Oba Ovorame, but for us, we feel that it is totally unacceptable. First, the governor went into a feud with the Benin royal family over the issue of ownership of the artifacts, and the Buhari government ruled in favor of the Oba of Benin. And I think the governor is not comfortable with this because he's building a private museum with public funds, which of course goes against what the Oba said when he ascended the throne in 2016, that he wants to have a Benin Royal Museum. So I think this position calls of the Obaseki-led government with the Oba Benin is not very good, particularly as the election gets closer. His own candidates will not find this funny at all. I saw the reaction they made. But the Benin will protect the image of our culture because the Oba is the face of our culture.
All right, Andrew. I'm sure if we also get the
Benin man, and is the head of the Benin church called the Holy Orasa. So the Benin people, they see the Oba as their spiritual leader, they see him as their traditional ruler, they see him as their father, they see him as their king.
I'm sure if you get somebody from the governor's camp,
what as a subject, even if he's governor of the state, they must respect the Oba of Benin, and forthwith they should desist from every attempt to bring the Oba's position and office to disrepute.
All right, I'm sure we'll also make an attempt to reach out to the governor's office and see what their response would be. I'm sure if you ask them, they might have something contrary to maybe some of your submissions. But we thank you very much for providing further insight on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, away from that, the Nigerian government says the Kano-Daura rail project will be completed by 2025. Minister of Transportation Said Al-Khali, who gave the assurance on Friday in Abuja, said the project is one of the priority projects of the ministry to be actualized at the stipulated time. He said the project, when completed, will enable the transportation of raw materials over long distances and moving passengers and freight. The minister added that the project will also add value in terms of development to the area.
To link the narrow gauge from Lagos to Kano dry port to put it for freight so that we save our roads, we reduce the menace of road traffic accident, and by that it will boost the GDP growth of the entire country. I came through Kano to inspect Kano Maradi project to route Dambata to Daura, not Daura, from Dambata to Kazaure, and it's going on, it's going well. From the assessments with the last visit I have done, the contractor has done well, and by the grace of God, we are going to put Kano to Kazaure segment by next year, and Kazaure to Daura, and Duze to Kazaure, and eventually to Daura by 2026.
Earlier in the year, the Cybersecurity Experts Association of Nigeria predicted a rise in insider threats for the country in 2024, driven by an increase in the malicious use of artificial intelligence. This was contained in the association's forecast for 2024. The threat to cyber safety is real and true, and every day a lot of individuals and organizations alike fall prey to cyber criminals. News Central's Bettina Uweli spoke to some experts about the issue of cybersecurity. Her report.
Nigeria's rapid growth as a technological hub in Africa has brought about the significant challenge of increasing cyber crime. While the economic and social benefits of this technological growth are evident, Nigeria's rapid growth as a technological hub in Africa has brought about the significant challenge of increasing cybercrime. While the economic and social benefits of this technological growth are evident, cyber criminals are drawn to these successes, posing a threat to future growth.
I wouldn't say social media is a risk, the end user is the risk. And I think that's purely from a lack of education. And I think what happens is a number of people are targeted because of their inexperience. They receive messages which they don't recognize or understand, and they go into them, which then obviously creates an area for them to be attacked, or what we call phished or spear phishing. And people assume other people's identities and intercept payments and those kinds of things. So I think in reality, your first step is the individual or the person that needs to be educated, and then technology can assist.
Curbing cybercrime in Nigeria requires raising public awareness about cyber threats. This is instrumental in minimizing the perception gap of cybercrime and reducing the pool of vulnerable individuals falling prey to criminal schemes.
No matter what you do, you'll be attacked, you'll be tried. But you need to be prepared to ensure that you've put mitigation plans to ensure that once those things happen, you are secured. The losses that you get when you get attacked is way, 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 way more than you can actually envisage when all these things happen. So if you look at the investment that we put in place as a cybersecurity solution, is very minute as compared to the losses that we make from data losses, and then, of course, trust and breach of confidence. And so the banks, the likes of the telcos and all those things, they are doing everything possible to make sure that, they don't get all these challenges.
On Monday, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, issued a circular to various financial institutions, including commercial, merchant, non-interest, and payment service banks, indicating that the recent introduction of the 0.5% cybersecurity levy on all banking transactions would come into effect 2 weeks from May 6 this year.
It is important that we take cybersecurity very, very seriously, and we need to invest more into cybersecurity.
While this has sparked widespread discontent among Nigerians, the reality is that the cyberspace of the country does need protection. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Let's bring you the latest from Rivers State. The All Progressive Congress has condemned the recent statements credited to the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, over his claim that the State House of Assembly exists at his discretion. This National Publicity Secretary of the party says that the statement is reckless and an affront to the nation's constitution. News Center's Joshua Imarai completes the report.
The statement from the Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, while expressing his displeasure at a faction of the State Assembly loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike.
Those group of men who claim that are assembly members are not assembly members. They are not existing. I think it's according to a time when I need to make a statement on this thing, so that they understand that they are not existing. Their existence is me allowing them to exist. If I de-recognize them, they are nowhere.
The comments have evoked controversies, the latest being a reaction from the All Progressive Congress, emphasizing that the governor's action is a direct affront to the constitution of the country and a threat to democracy.
Governor Fubara's declaration that the Rivers State House of Assembly does not exist is not only reckless, it is a direct affront to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The House of Assembly is a creation of the Constitution and vested with the legislative authority of the state.
The APC is emphasizing that the 27 House of Assembly members who defected from the PDP to the APC remain constitutionally recognized members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. They say only a court of law can determine their status.
Only a properly constituted court of law can make a determination as to whether a member of the House of Assembly has vacated a seat in accordance with that provision of the Constitution. As no such judicial determination has been made, the 27 APC members of the House of Assembly remain the constitutionally recognized and authorized members of the Rivers State House of Assembly.
The National Publicity Secretary of the APC is calling on the governor to submit himself to the dictates of the Constitution and the rule of law, warning that his actions are an impeachable offense. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
The Rivers State High Court in Port Harcourt has granted an interim injunction restraining pro-Wike Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Martin Amaewhule, and 24 other members from parading themselves as legislators. The court's directive prohibits them from convening or participating in any official meetings at the Assembly premises. This decision stems from an ex-parte order filed against the pro-Wike lawmakers by pro-Siminalayi Fubara Speaker Victor Okojumbo and 3 others. The interim injunction declares the seats of the 1st to 25th defendants vacant pending further legal proceedings. The court also issued a restraining order prohibiting Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the Chief Judge, who are 26th and 28th defendants in the suit, from engaging with Amaewhule and his 25 loyalists. We have as guest a familiar face here, political commentator who has spoken quite recently on this subject matter, Godswill Jumbo. Godswill, thank you very much for joining us again. It wasn't quite long we talked about this, and you were quite strong in your submissions about the legalities around the emergence of a new speaker. And now we have a court case, a court order. What's your reaction to this latest development, and how does it validate or invalidate your previous position?
Okay, well, first of all, let me clear the air about the position of the APC through its spokesperson. The Constitution in Section 109, subsection G, is clear about the position of an elected official in whatever capacity, and that if you're sponsored to a position and you defect, you lose that position because the party that sponsored you, you have moved from that party to another party. And that section of the Constitution did not say this will be subject to a court of law saying or not saying. It is deemed to be automatic. But then, it is also fine that eventually Governor Siminalayi and maybe the current Speaker of the House of Assembly thought it wise that since these guys are not being, maybe they're not thinking in the direction of being honorable to vacate their seats, having become from the party that sponsored them to the position, they are still hanging around and trying to make it look like they are actually lawmakers. They now sought the discretion of the courts to now look at the issues and be able to take a position. I think it's a welcome development. So for me, in the midst of all of this, I think it's something I find quite interesting. I find it as a welcome development that the Speaker, Right Honorable Victor Okojumbo, and his colleagues have gone to court now to ask the court to determine what is the position of the issues around Martin Amaewhule and his co-travelers, and also I think it is a fine one so that the whole drama that could turn to violence could also be checkmated, because, these things can actually spiral out of control with emotions running very high. Yesterday
correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just trying to rely on memory based off our last conversation. You were quite firm, if I recall correctly, that this Oko speakership is not lawful, and I think you quoted some laws and some reasons why you chose that part. So, this court judgment, if I am correct, are you indicating that it changes your position from our previous conversation and that the speakership of Oko is now legal?
No. Maybe somebody else. But for me, I never said Okojombo's speakership. I said that the lawmakers who defected from the PDP to the APC, they lost their membership of the House of Assembly, and consequently, whatever position, whether speaker or whatever they are holding. And then the remaining members of the Assembly, which Okojombo is one of them, constitutes the constitutionally recognized members of the House of Assembly. Now, from among them, they have elected one of them, which is Victor Okojombo, to be the speaker. He is, in the eyes of the law, in line with the provisions of the Constitution, he is the authentic speaker and the only speaker of the House of Assembly. It doesn't change my position. I never said he's not legal. I'm saying that he is the legal, he is authentic, he is a constitutionally recognized speaker of the House of Assembly. Martin Amewule was a speaker of the House of Assembly until his defection. The law is clear, and that is the ground norm in particular. It's not just any law, the ground norm, the Constitution, the overriding, primal law of the country is clear that once you defect, you lose that position. So up to the point where Martin Amewule and his colleagues defected, he was speaker up to that point. And from that point, the law does not recognize him as such.
All right, thank you very much for that clarification. It was imperative, and that was why I framed my question the way I did, because I was trying to recall from memory. Now that we have this scenario, do you think maybe there is some light at the end of the tunnel with a crisis at the River State House of Assembly, or do you expect maybe another court to come up with a ruling that may put paid to what we have today?
Well, this particular, it's an interim injunction. It is not the end of the road, actually. It is an interim injunction restraining the 25 lawmakers from parading themselves as members of the House of Assembly, and then secondly, from holding the meetings they'll be holding and purporting to be, conducting legislative business. And the governor from receiving, the governor, the attorney general, and the state chief judge from receiving or interacting with them as per the River State House of Assembly. Now, I expect that both parties will not stop here. I expect that this group that has been restrained will want to go to another court and try to restrain the opposite group and all of that. I expect that to happen. But I also want to use this opportunity to call on the judiciary. We need to rein this situation in. We need to contain it. The judiciary should be able to rise to the occasion, look at the provisions of the extant laws of the country, and be able to take a position that is clear and unambiguous, so that we prevent future situations like this, where a conviction is entrenched in a state, inhibiting governance from happening, inhibiting development from taking place, preventing the progress, economic progress, social progress of a state from happening.
I do hope that the judiciary will listen to...
steps in and, addresses this situation.
I mean, you're one among many who have made this call about the judiciary, stepping up literally. Thank you very much, Godswill, for speaking with us.
My pleasure. Good night.
Good night. In the late 1980s, AT&P in Sapele, Delta Glass Factory, Ugeli, Asaba Textile Mills, among other indigenous companies in the defunct Bendel State and present-day Delta State, provided employment opportunities for young Nigerians. Today, the story is different, with several unemployed youths nationwide. Governor Sheriff Oborevwori hopes to return Delta State's economy to the good old days, where these moribund companies can be revived to provide employment opportunities for young people in Delta and beyond. My colleague Austin Azu completes the story.
It's another batch of swearing in and inauguration of chairmen and members of boards, agencies, parastatals and MDAs by the Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevwori at the Government House, Asaba, the state capital. The The boards of the Delta State Investment Development Agency and the Delta State Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, among others, were inaugurated.
That as Auditor General Local Government in the government of Delta State, I will discharge my duty to the best of my ability, faithful, and in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Worried by the prevalent unemployment challenges across the country, Governor Bello recalled the good old days when the H&P Sapele, Delta Glass Factory Ugele, Asaba Textile Mills, Delta Steel Company Alaja, among others, were the major growth drivers and employers of labor. The governor charged the boards to draw up a functional template that would attract credible investment to the state.
This time today, the organized private sector in the state is weak and undeveloped, and is counting for only 9% of GDP as at 2022. I'm counting on the new leadership of DIDA to change this narrative by initiating steps that will enhance the ease of doing business in the state.
The governor, who also inaugurated chairman and members of State Civil Service Commission, among others, charged them to tackle the ghost worker syndrome leading to absenteeism and abandonment of duty posts.
It is my earnest expectation that the commission will immediately ensure the recruitment of the best hands to drive the bureaucracy through a very competitive recruitment process devoid of nepotism, favoritism, bias, prejudice, or political considerations.
Responding on behalf of the appointees, the chairman, Governing Council of Delta State University, Abraka, assured the governor to bring their wealth of experience to bear on their jobs.
I believe that for every job anyone is doing here, there are so many people out there who qualify. So if you have appointed a number of us, my understanding is that we should thank God and know that we must work hard to meet your expectation.
These appointees in the days ahead must justify the confidence reposed in them to deliver on the mandate assigned to them. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
A group known as the Coalition of Plateau Citizens of Conscience for Good Governance and Accountability on Democratic Matters has called on Nigeria's anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to commence an immediate investigation of the 8-year administration of the immediate past governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong. The coalition tasked the anti-graft agency to ensure that allegations of corruption against the former governor, now a senator, are not swept under the carpet, saying that the course of justice must prevail. They highlighted several high-profile but questionable expenditures expected to be investigated by the commission.
The alleged misappropriations of funds such as 1. The 50 billion legacy project, which was abandoned by Lalong administration and currently in court with the contractors. The missing 17 billion naira, which was deducted from civil servants' salaries as payee tax from 2015 to 2023. The missing 400 tractors, which were commissioned by former President Muhammadu Buhari on the 9th of March 2018. The former governor, Lalong, should account for the billions of naira alleged borrowed as loan from bank for the constructions of British America flyover. This and many more are issues.
Nigeria is an import-dependent nation, yet not a shipping nation, despite its huge contribution to global trade. Playing marginally in the industry, it is on record that no fewer than 90% of shipping companies owned by Nigerians have either completely shut down their operations or barely struggling to survive, with an estimated annual cargo throughput of 150 million metric tons generated, and with freight earnings in excess of $5 billion in her international trade transactions, 95% of this income is earned by foreigners, with job deprivation to a lot of Nigerians. The same dominance by foreigners is also extended to the domestic shipping market, where an estimated $3 billion annual marine-related spending in oil and gas production activities are virtually earned by foreigners.
In the area of mining, before now, we didn't have professionals, we didn't have trained seafarers, we didn't have a lot of them around. Today, even from one strand of the program of Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, we have 3,000 qualified seafarers. Okay. Are they all working in Nigeria? The answer is no. Some are working in ocean-going vessels for international shipping companies. Some are working in our own local vessels, trading.
Britain's main opposition Labour Party on Friday pledged to scrap the Conservative government's flagship Rwanda scheme if it comes to power, replacing it with a tougher, more joined-up approach to tackling irregular migration. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has staked his political reputation on his plan to stop the boats, pushing the controversial deportation plan despite opposition from rights groups and judicial rulings. Labour, which is widely expected to win the next general election later this year, after 14 years in opposition, has been under mounting pressure to say what it will do if it is voted into office. Immigration has become an increasingly central political issue since the United Kingdom left the European Union in 2020, largely on a promise to take back control of the country's borders. Chad's Minister and Deputy Campaign Director of For a United Chad Coalition, Mohamed Al-Lakhta, says hand will always be extended to the opposition, but on condition that there is no slip-ups and that there are no challenges when the supreme truth of the ballot box emerges. He said this a day after results declared a victory for General Muhammad Idris Deby Itno in the presidential election. Some hours before the official provisional results were announced, Prime Minister Success Masra declared himself victor at the polls. The former opposition leader, appointed Prime Minister in January, had warned that Deby's team would rig the results to ensure he won. Let's now join our business desk for today's business stories.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
This is business news. The income generated by Nigerian artists through streaming on Spotify has seen a remarkable growth of 2,500% in the past 7 years, highlighting the increasing popularity of music platforms in the country. According to Spotify's annual report titled Loud and Clear, Nigerian artists earned 25 billion naira in 2023, doubled the amount from the previous year, and a staggering 2,500% increase since 2017. The report also revealed 3 times more Nigerian artists earned over 10 million naira in 2023 compared to 2018. The sub-Saharan African market as a whole experienced the highest growth rate in music revenue globally, with a 24.7% increase in 2023, driven by the surge in paid streaming services, contributing to 24.5% of the revenue, according to the 2024 International Federation of the Phonographic Industry, IFPI report. And in Ghana, Glovo app will stop accepting orders from 10 p.m. on May 10, 2024. The decision is due to financial constraints and the company's focus on other African markets. Glovo Ghana merged branches earlier this year, leading to job losses for around 30 staff members and impacting delivery riders. The company cited difficulties in achieving profitability in the Ghanaian market. Glovo plans to consolidate its presence in countries like Morocco, Uganda, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria. This move surprises many, as Glovo previously expressed optimism about expanding in Ghana. The online food delivery sector in Ghana is projected to reach $544.3 million by 2029, But Glovo's exit follows similar trends from Jumia and Bolt Food. The future of Glovo's remaining staff and riders is uncertain, leaving a gap in Ghana's growing delivery market. And finally, in East Africa, Kenya is actively seeking increased investments from China to address the trade imbalance while also pursuing strategic partnerships with the U.S., Western markets, and the Gulf nations. The China-Africa Economic and Trade Expo, CAETE, recently held a 3-day forum in Nairobi, marking its first appearance on the continent. Speaking at the Expo, Investment, Trade and Industry CS, Rebecca Miano termed Kenya as the gateway to East Africa and the continent, adding that the country is also keen to attract investments in healthcare, manufacturing, affordable housing, MSMEs, digital trade and e-commerce, ICT, and the creative economy. The Expo in Nairobi resulted in the signing of several deals, including one in agro-processing. This approach reflects a foreign policy aimed at achieving a balanced trade and investment relationship with both the East and the West, in contrast to the previous administration's heavier reliance on China. That's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
And that is all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Abuja High Court rejects ex-Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello's request to stop trial. River State High Court restrains Amawule 24 others from parading as legislators. Also in the news, Prince Harry has visited Kaduna and has pledged support for wounded soldiers. We also brought you news that Chad's ruling government has assured a hand will be extended to the opposition. You send your eyewitness report to the number on the screen. I'd like to hear from you as well. Follow us at News Central TV. You can watch live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind company. Have a good night.